The chamber was silent, save for the faint hum of the crystal spires that pulsed with the lifeblood of Zarathus. The elders stood in a semicircle, their translucent robes shimmering faintly under the dim violet glow. Their faces, ancient, weathered by millennia of wisdom, were taut with something rare for their kind. Fear. High Elder Corrin's voice trembled as he spoke, each word a heavy stone dropped into the stillness. We warned them. We warned the Council, the fleets, the entire Galactic Assembly. Humans are not like the others. They are relentless, unstoppable. And now it is too late. No one answered. The younger initiates, standing at the edges of the chamber, shifted uneasily. They'd grown up on tales of the elders' foresight, their ability to see the threads of fate weaving through the stars. But this was different. The humans were a fledgling species, barely a speck on the galactic map. How could they unravel everything the Zarathian Dominion had built over eons? The initiates exchanged glances, their glowing eyes flickering with doubt. They hadn't seen what the elders had seen. They hadn't felt the shiver in the void when the first human ships broke free of their cradle world. Corrin's gaze drifted to the holosphere at the center of the chamber. With a wave of his skeletal hand, it flared to life, projecting a scene that made even the boldest among them recoil. A human vessel, small, crude, patched together with materials the galaxy had long since abandoned, drifted through the wreckage of a Dominion warship. The warship had been a marvel of engineering, its hull forged from star steel, its weapons capable of cracking moons. Now it was a husk, torn open like a beast felled by a hunter's blade. And there, among the debris, the human ship lingered, its crew scavenging, undeterred by the destruction they'd wrought. They do not tire, Corrin said, his voice barely above a whisper. They do not yield. We struck their colonies, burned their skies, shattered their fleets, and still they came. More ships, more warriors, more defiance. He paused, his breath catching as the holosphere shifted to show a human soldier, bloodied, armor cracked, standing atop a mound of fallen Zarathian drones. The soldier raised a fist, shouting something the elders couldn't hear, but the gesture alone sent a chill through the room. It was triumph. Raw, unbridled triumph. Elder Vera stepped forward, her voice sharp with frustration. We told the Council to leave them be. We begged them to quarantine that wretched system, to let the humans claw at their dirt and die out in obscurity. But no, they wanted resources. They wanted slaves. They thought a primitive species could be broken. She laughed bitterly, the sound echoing off the spires. And now the Council's fleets are ash, their worlds are burning, and the humans are at our gates. The initiates murmured among themselves, their doubt giving way to unease. They'd heard the rumors, whispers of human resilience, of battles where the odds should have crushed them but didn't. There was the tale of Tarvox Prime, where a single human outpost held off a siege for 3 cycles, long after their supplies ran dry. Or the massacre at Kelrin's Belt, where a human captain rammed his dying ship into a Dominion dreadnought, taking both to oblivion in a blaze of fire and spite. The stories were dismissed as exaggerations, propaganda from a desperate foe. But the holosphere didn't lie. The elders didn't lie. Corrin turned to the initiates, his eyes burning with an intensity that silenced their whispers. You think this is a war of weapons, of strategy? Number this is a war of will. The humans have something we lost long ago, something we buried beneath our towers and our laws. They hunger, not for power, not for glory, but for survival, and that hunger makes them unbreakable. One of the initiates, a young female named Silith, stepped forward. Her voice was soft but steady, cutting through the tension. If they're so unstoppable, Why do we still fight? Why not negotiate, offer peace? The question hung in the air, naive yet piercing. The elders exchanged glances, their silence heavier than before. Vera answered, her tone laced with regret. Because they don't trust us. We struck first. We glassed their cities, slaughtered their young, all in the name of dominance. They see us as monsters now. And they're right to. Peace was never an option after what we did. The holosphere flickered again, this time showing a human fleet, hundreds of ships, mismatched and scarred, emerging from the void. They moved with no discernible formation, no elegance, just a chaotic swarm bearing down on Zarathus's outer defenses. Alarms blared in the distance, faint but growing louder. The initiates froze, their glowing eyes wide with realization. The humans weren't coming. They were already here. Corin closed his eyes, his voice a broken murmur. We warned them. No one listened. And now, we pay the price. The alarms grew louder, a shrieking chorus that reverberated through the crystal spires of Zarathus. The chamber trembled, dust sifting from the ceiling as the first distant booms echoed beyond the walls. The initiates stumbled, clutching at one another, their glowing eyes darting toward the elders for reassurance that never came. Corin stood motionless, his gaze fixed on the holosphere as it tracked the human fleet's advance. The swarm of ships moved like a living thing, erratic, unpredictable, splitting apart and reforming with a ferocity that defied reason. Dominion interceptors raced to meet them, sleek and precise, but they were swallowed one by one, devoured by the humans' relentless tide. Vera's hands clenched into fists, her voice cutting through the chaos. They fight like animals, wild, desperate, with no regard for their own lives. How do you stop a foe that welcomes death? She turned to Corin, her frustration boiling over. We should have fled, High Elder. We should have abandoned this system when we had the chance.